Hello and welcome to Lunchtime News. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. We'll dig into it. 18 senior army officers have successfully completed a course in National Security and Strategic Studies at the National Defense College in Jeru. President Yoweri Museveni, who witnessed their graduation, urged them to fight corruption.
18 brigadier generals and colonels who are pioneer students of the first intake at the National Defense College in Jeru, Wikwe district, have graduated.
I, General Retired Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, do hereby confer on you the NDC from this 18th day of January, the year of our Lord 2023.
These have completed a one-year master's equivalent course on national security and strategic studies, which was facilitated by UPDF Senior Directive Staff, Makerere University and other stakeholders.
The study covered areas on national and regional security, policy formulation, implementation and review, strategic management and research. The studies were anchored on a Pan-Africanist setting.
Because every course has got a purpose, and whereas one might be good at fighting with weapons, one still needs to be backed up and grounded in strategic thought, which this college was brought in to solve.
Graduates were urged to think of making UPDF a self-sustaining force as they await further deployment.
That this college comes now to cap the topmost tier of the joint professional military education requirements with added advantages such as the reduced cost of training outside the country.
Once you happen to be deployed, wherever you are deployed, make sure that corruption, which has been a problem in the civilian sector, does not come to the army. We have had some cases where we have some cases of...
The President of the Republic of Uganda called for more training and improvement in the welfare of soldiers to have a strong force.
Otherwise, we are moving very well. There is no war we cannot fight here in our country. Any type of war, we shall fight it. We have the capacity and the motivation.
The graduates received National Defense College certificates, transcripts and badges. The National Defense College is mandated to prepare selected military officers and government officials and appropriate individuals for senior leadership and management roles. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News in Wikwe district.
Now, Cabinet has approved the construction of the 296-kilometer crude oil pipeline from Hoima to Tanzania, and the East African Crude Oil Company has been licensed to undertake the construction works. The project is costed at $5 billion, with commencement of works expected in November this year, and completion target is the first quarter of 2025. Let's take a look.
Cabinet approved an application by the East African Pipeline Oil of the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Company Limited for a license to construct the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or which is popularly known as EACOP, with the following benefits. One, commitment of both the governments of the Republic of Tanzania and Uganda to develop the EACOP project. And two, promoting transparency and sustainability between the countries. And third, demonstrating joint commitment to develop the project in a harmonized manner.
And now Nakawa Magistrates Court has charged and remanded Pastor Joseph Collins Twahira of AP Kazo Ministries International Church in Bugalobi for alleged rape of a one Latvia. This coincided with Buganda Road Magistrates Court not being able to proceed with the hearing of the case of inciting violence against Dr. Kiza Besije and Samuel Wega Mukaku following the absence of the prosecutor.
Pastor Joseph Collins Twahire of AP Ministries International has been arraigned before Nakawa Magistrates Court and charged with one count of raping a Lavitian nation. Pastor Twahire pleaded not guilty to the alleged offences. Prosecution informed court that inquiries in the matter are still ongoing.
I'll however note that in regard to the accused's alleged medical condition, the prison service has a medical facility which serves all remandees.
Meanwhile, the same court has fixed 15th March 2023 for the trial of the National Economic Empowerment Dialogue Need leader, Joseph Kableta. Prosecution led by Maria Akite said the inquiries in the matter are still ongoing. She asked court for more time. Magistrate Rita Newombe Chidasa is presiding over the matter. After the court, the accused person Joseph Kableta made these remarks.
The trouble is when they arrest and then they remand and then somebody is in prison and then the state takes ages to put their case together. But as long as I'm out and I'm granted bail, they can take all the time they want in the world. We are ready. My defense is ready and would present at whatever time the state is ready.
The leader of National Economic Empowerment Dialogue Need, Joseph Kableta, is charged with promoting sectarianism against Ugandans. Meanwhile, Buganda Road Magistrates Court in Kampala has failed to proceed with the hearing of the case against Dr. Kiza Besije and Samuel Lubega Mukaku. This follows the absence of prosecution Chaze Ivan. The accused's lawyer Elias Lukwago objected to the prayers.
They would have put us on notice, adequate notice, that please don't waste your time to come here. But for us, we believe these are all machinations intended to keep the accused persons in the dock perpetually. And that is an element of persecution, and that's the reason.
Magistrate Asumani Muhumuza granted prosecution prayers, thus fixing 22nd February 2023 for hearing of the matter.
I accept the reasons advanced by Ms. Nareva Jean, the prosecutor who is in court, and grant the adjournment she's asking for.
The two are charged with offences of inciting violence following the hiked prices of commodities in the country. The said offences prosecution alleges that were committed on 14th June 2020 in Chikubo, Kampala. Deborah Namamonde, Susan Nabugode, UBC News.
Mental Coalition of Uganda has recommended for an active complaints mechanism or a fully monitoring body in Butabika Hospital to hold psychiatric facilities accountable to human rights abuses. This follows a letter published in a newspaper for alleged forceful hospitalization, treatment, sexual exploitation to one of the patients.
Mental Health Coalition of Uganda has called for a thorough investigation and inspection of Butabika Hospital following alleged human rights abuses within the psychiatric facilities. This follows a letter published revealing lies beyond the eye at Butabika Hospital.
It should be noted that issues of human rights abuses within the psychiatric facility is not new in Uganda. Acts of seclusion and restraint, physical or chemical, forced medication, denial of consent and participation in their own treatment, forced institutionalization by the healthcare system, families of persons with mental health disabilities, police and the community have always existed in Uganda.
The Ministry of Health has been tasked to fast-track the implementation of the Mental Health Act to ensure community mental health services are integrated in the treatment and care persons.
And that is peer-to-peer support groups within the communities, because that is an option when it is harnessed, supported, and the capacity is built of people with lived experience, because I also have a lived experience, somebody who has recovered from bipolar, affective disorder. It works.
The coalition is now advocating for use of alternative care in the community that include use of de-escalation techniques, voluntary admissions, among others.
That persons living with disabilities face a lot of stigma as well, and as we don't have to just advocate towards people within the rural areas, but we need to take this advocacy and sensitization even in the rural areas. They don't have as much information that we have here.
Parents have been also asked to follow up on their patients for quick recovery. Police has been asked to investigate matters of corruption and sexual exploitation of persons with mental disabilities. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
Now, the Ministry of Health, together with Kampala Capital City Authority, KCCA, has embarked on sensitization of communities on addressing communicable diseases. This comes at a time when Uganda has been declared Ebola-free. The sensitization was spearheaded in Kawempe, where religious leaders from different denominations were first to be trained.
It's not all about that we are done with Ebola, but what next? We must keep in touch in as far as looking after our communities is concerned. Cleanliness is very, very important, and many of these diseases come as a result of maybe unhygienic areas where we live.
There are many other hemorrhagic diseases that keep coming up that can wipe out our populations rapidly. So we need to be best prepared. We are basically preparing for disaster. We are disaster preparing in the event of any reoccurrence or occurrence of a new disease.
Religious leaders are able to reach out, scale the messages to their congregations in their different churches, in their different mosques, in their different places of worship. Because they are key influencers, it is very vital that we empower them and bring them on board so that they're able to reach people in their different places of worship.
To avoid handshaking, avoid congestion, and Muslims, we are trying to tell them that instead of coming to mosques minus their mats, they should get these small mats where they can conduct their prayers from. They should make sure that they put hand washing facilities across religious institutions. Let it be mosques, churches, and name it.
Actors in extractive minerals have decried failure by government to quantify its minerals. They say this complicates the investments in the sector and consequently leads to cheating of government. They made the remarks during a national symposium organized by the Auditor General's Office here in Kampala.
Uganda has a variety of minerals ranging from gold, oil, tin, salt, iron ore, glass sand to phosphates that has capacity to accelerate the development in the country. But according to the actors in the sector, including Senior Inspector of Minerals David Sebagala, the main challenge hindering government from benefiting from the extractive minerals is the failure to quantify the minerals.
I tried to talk about this before. But if we have these minerals in the ground and we cannot delineate their quantities, their extents, and define what costs are required to mine them and whether they can be mined at a profit, we are wasting our time.
Failure to quantify the minerals leads to another challenge of investors fearing to invest money into probability-driven ventures.
Will bring in their money, drill, spend a few millions of dollars, and then when they quantify a reserve of, say, worth $1 billion. And then after that, that is when now we pick interest at that level and say, no, this is our deposit, and as citizens and as a country, we have to get a bigger share of the result. I think it is high time we started thinking of investing our local money in this sector. It is a very profitable sector. It is high risk, but very profitable. And where are our friends, the foreigners, the foreign direct investment
mechanism that we're looking for. Where are these people getting the money? From their local foreign stock exchanges. In their countries, they have functioning stock exchanges.
This was during a 3-day extractive mineral symposium organized by the Office of the Auditor General, where they pledged to ensure that there is accountability and transparency in the mines sector.
Energy and mineral development sector is a primary growth area. If you look at the National Development Plan, it tells you that this is a primary growth area that can enable generation of revenue for other sectors to benefit. So if we manage this sector transparently and effectively, we are capable of generating huge revenues which can be used to improve our socio-economic conditions in the country.
Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
Now to further dwell onto this.
And the Deputy RDC Nansana Municipality, Shafiq Nsubuga, has cautioned criminal gangs, especially the infamous Kasolo group, that operations are underway to arrest and neutralize any criminal activity in the municipality. Nsubuga condemns these illegal activities in the area and also urges parents to advise their children not to get involved in criminal acts.
The Deputy Resident District Commissioner in charge of Nansana Municipality, Shafiq Nsubuga, has cautioned the youth involved in criminal activities that police is to embark on a sweeping operation to neutralize them. This comes at a time when a one Kasolo group of gangs has been reportedly led to waylay unsuspecting travelers before clobbering and robbing them of any possessions. He appealed parents to counsel their children against leading criminal lives.
Because really, if the president fought the rebels in the bush, what about those people? The only reason I can give, the government is just so soft with these vulnerable people. A person who is vulnerable, we need to change their minds. It is a mindset program. It is running now in the ghetto structures. So long as we don't teach our people and sensitize them of the good and the bad, right from our homesteads, the parents have a very, very big role to put away all these illegal activities.
Nsubuga was launching the Nansana Support Women's Development Initiative Group at Rio Gardens and commended them for being exemplary. The chairperson of Nansana Support Women's and Development Initiative, Margaret Kabasicha, appealed to government to support them with industrial machines to enable them continue making clothing garments.
Advanced ideas and advanced material, we make it locally. Even the machine for mixing the liquid soap, we also make smearing oil. The smearing oil that we make it locally. We mix with our hands. So really, as women and youth of Nansana, as the chairperson, I request the government, please help us with the machines.
Of finance and economic planning is in final stages of coming up with recommendations to operationalize the recently that's the Public Procurement Act Amendment 2020 regarding the 30% consideration of marginalized groups like women and people living with disabilities. This was revealed by the PDA top official Moses Ojambo during a half-day Women in Business Network meeting held in Kampala.
Despite the recent Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority Amendment of 2020 to cater for interests of marginalized groups like women in public and private procurement, the amendments are not yet in force due to lack of enabling operational guidelines to effect it. Among the amendments include a gender provision for a 30% consideration for marginalized groups in public procurements, with a special consideration for 15% for women. This was revealed by the Director for Capacity Building at the PPDA, Moses Ojambo, during a one-day procurement sensitization meeting for Uganda women entrepreneurs under the Grasa Marshall Trust Network at Hotel Africana in Kampala.
Now, the challenge is that the women are complaining that they have not benefited, even when there's a provision for 30% for the disadvantaged groups, where they think 15% would be for the women. Now, the Act provides for these provisions that will support the participation of women exclusively in public procurement, but this must be communicated in regulations to operationalize.
Women leaders in business, led by the Uganda Chapter Network Chairperson Florence Kasule Najirinya, highlighted some of the procurement challenges faced by women.
Although they have been given a certain percentage, still implementation is a problem, and women are being left out in the public procurement processes.
There is a tendency of attitude whether women have the capacity to absorb the financing, do the right businesses, because they've been predominantly known to be in small sector.
Centenary Bank will come forward to be able to support our women to engage into the government program. Through our Superwoman program, we are able to give business advisory services. We train people in public procurement.
The Grasa Machel Trust Network in Uganda includes women in business and finance, women in media, women in environment and climate change, agribusiness, and Uganda women writers, among others.
And with that, we take a quick break. When we return, business news. You are watching Lunchtime News.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Kabode Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Kabode deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Kabode Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
Leaders who care create a good learning environment.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
Get the most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda from Airtel. Now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes! 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones.
Dial *175*94# to activate free 1 GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
Tosoka nompa hemanga tona genda yenyonta esuse kodia abasoga myuse ne kalamateri wane nyola jonyambe umpe okuhema cause I love you hema everybody know oh hema maziganga gampomela.
Keeping an eye on all your balance the old way.
I got this. Yeah. Balance is... yeah.
What is he up to now?
*11.
Keeping an eye on all your balance with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to see all your balance in one place and in real time. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
I don't miss you.
Growing up as a child, 18th of January is the answer to the call of duty.
Keeping an eye on all your balance the old way.
I got this. Yeah. balance is... yeah.
What is he up to now?
*11.
Keeping an eye on all your balance with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to see all your balance in one place and in real time. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
You miss him.
On the 26th of January 2023, Uganda will mark the 37th anniversary of the Liberation Day, when the ruling National Resistance Army stroke movement took over power. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni will preside over the event that will have people of different walks of life join to celebrate years of liberation, peace, prosperity, and socio-economic transformation. The celebrations will be broadcast live in Kakumiro district under the theme, "Our resolute effort to transform Uganda is a promise we shall fulfill."
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Kabode Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Kabode deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Kabode Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
Welcome back. Now, business news. Local leaders from northern Uganda have raised concerns about the implementation of livelihood empowerment projects targeting their region. In a national dialogue in Kampala, concerns were raised by opinion leaders on effective utilization of projects funds, status of poverty alleviation, tangible benefits and sustainability strategy of the Action for Livelihood Enhancement in Northern Uganda project.
This action kicked off in 2020. It's a 3-year action and will come to an end in April. But a lot has been done in the different themes or areas, and right now we are more into the closure phase. Hope to continue having engagements with the district leadership on how to hand over, for example, value addition equipment, hand over groups that have been strengthened on how best they can be boosted and supported into new programs, for example, like the parish development model.
All the stakeholders must be involved in this evaluation so that we give a holistic picture of the impact and the areas achieved and the areas identified for continuation, and maybe new areas also that can easily come up. And then we shall begin talking in that manner. Because now, when they ask you, let's extend this program, and somebody will ask, for what reason?
What can be done best in order to develop our farmers? Somebody was talking the other time. We need to change the modality, the modes of farming in our area. Many of our people use very local methods of farming, unhorse, whereby one cannot open up more than 5 hectares per season. The moment we provide tractors, modern way of farming, we shall have solved the problems of food in our region.
Starting point for the inputs is the companies, either for seed or for the agrochemicals. That's the key starting point. But sometimes, for the case of seed, we have the breeders for the foundation seed. But the area which has the greatest problem of concern is not the breeder. The breeder produce very quality stuff, the researchers, the foundation seed. But the area of concern for us is the companies, the input dealers. That's where the problem starts from, and where we start having manyanga.
And finally, in sports, Federation of Uganda Football Association has entered a 19 billion 5-year sponsorship deal with telecommunications giants MTN. The announcement was made last night at the Uganda Cranes vs Senegal African Nations Championship game, a watch party hosted at the Serena Hotel in Kampala.
And it is my singular honor and privilege on behalf of MTN Uganda to announce this day that MTN Uganda is back with the Uganda Cranes. Woo! And MTN Uganda is bringing the game back to the fans.
On a day of double joy for Uganda, Federation of Uganda Football Associations has unveiled the telecommunication giants MTN as their sponsors.
The value of the sponsorship is 19 billion shillings, and it's going to be spread over 5 years. But obviously, even the investment that we'll put in will be a lot more because we seek to go across the whole of Uganda, just re-energizing the game, getting people to fill the stadiums again as we support Uganda football. I think the other thing that is also important to announce is that we are not just doing the Uganda Cranes, the national men's team, but also this time we're also bringing in the Crested Cranes, which is the national women's team. And we'll also be supporting all the additional programs under FUFA, which include the FUFA Drum Tournament, the FUFA Juniors League, the FUFA Super 8, the FUFA Super Cup, and the annual FUFA Awards.
FUFA President Moses Magogo is optimistic this deal will propel Uganda to greater tidings, especially the 2026 Football World Cup.
And of course, there have been challenges along the way. We have a challenge of the infrastructure, and we are working with government and all other private stakeholders to ensure that we solve. And we shall solve this one. We have very good account on the side of government that there's a big effort to ensure that we solve the challenge of infrastructure. There's also been a challenge of the law, but we're all aware that within the next few weeks, the Ugandan Sports Act that I presented to Parliament myself as a private member will be able to become law if assented to by the President. We believe that the remaining bit will be now the funds.
This partnership has excited key stakeholders like National Council of Sports, whose General Secretary Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwell advises other federations to borrow a leaf.
I don't think it just came from nowhere. The marketing department, which is a directorate, has been fully behind negotiation, behind selling their brand to the level I saw yesterday. What else can I tell other federations? They are wasting time to talk negative, talk and fight in the media on issues of funding. FUFA needed to put the right human resources in place for them to attain. It did not need money first. You need to think about it. Football can employ its own people. I now see this coming to reality. So if we're talking about growth and development, we need to look at organizing our houses. Good governance is a practice and a profession for us to adopt.
The announcement for the new sponsor was made at the watch party for the Senegal vs Uganda game in the African Nations Championship in Algeria. In a game Uganda needed to win, goalkeeper Nafian Alionzi saved the penalty, while captain Milton Kalisa secured the result with a well-taken 33rd minute strike that puts Uganda atop of Group B.
Young man. Sebakula drops. Kalisa! 1-0! Milton Kalisa! The captain of Vipers plays and scores!
The Cranes that have garnered 4 points will return to action on Sunday against Ivory Coast with knowledge that any result secures a historic passage to the quarterfinals. John Barnes, Centum, UBC News.
Well, and that does it for Lunchtime News. Thank you for sticking with us. Have yourselves a lovely afternoon.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.